Okay. So we're going to assume everything's fine now.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So for those of you that missed the beginning of this, I assume I'm just talking as if, like, when I cut this up and throw it on YouTube, I'm just going to cut at the beginning. So for those of you that don't know what just happened, there were a few audio issues. They appear to be fixed now. Welcome to a Q&A with the Old School team. Let's go. So we already answered the first, like, 3 questions. We're going to go as quick as possible through those so we don't bore anybody that already heard them. Will Old School ever see particle effects?
Players don't want it. Moving on.
Can Zaya come with day and night cycles?
No.
Put on sunglasses? What about a sky?
No. Carry on.
But we were open to doing fog.
Here we go.
Lon asks, can bronze, iron, and steel dragons be combined into the same metal dragon task?
We
That was
figured
also what
there was no point in having a distinction between them if we did that at all.
Yeah. Okay. On to the first question that hasn't been asked yet this stream. A little quiet. Turn up your speakers. All I've got. Benville asks, how is the weight of an item decided? He says, the achievement diary legs, for example, are 9 kg, whereas the plate body is 1 kg.
Well, what most developers do is look at similar items to see how much they weigh and go for something that's, you know, between 2 similar items. I don't know what was done for the achievement diary items.
This is the point where you normally bring up Anna in a barrel.
That's right.
Yes, I think if you can work out the weight of Anna in a barrel, because you can work out comparing it with the weight of the barrel that doesn't contain Anna, and you can worry about her state of health.
He also says the angler outfit weighs 10 times as much as the other outfits. But then somebody replied to that saying, you shouldn't be running around while you're fishing anyways, so...
Yeah, that's true.
I have to admit, waders, the people who fish down by the cam, they wear what looks like pretty heavy boots.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I made them heavy.
Yeah, maybe it's got some water in there. All right. Ash Ketchum asks, can you look at adding the smoldering stone to the circle to make the infernal bow?
Oh, that's a nice idea.
What's one of those do?
The fire's fire, I
So,
It depends if you want to be the very best.
guess. Turns it from green to red, and then we got more Jedi stuff
Okay.
going on.
so as far as a buff to the circle goes, the name is cool, the infernal bow.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already sold.
Yeah.
As for what he pitches it does, debatable. So 70 range requirement, degrades after 2.5 thousand shots, maybe in intervals like the crystal bow. Shoots up to dragon arrows. It's already really damn good. And the special attack would leave your opponent burning.
So
Gets
it's
into
it's
like a
damage
bleed
over
effect.
time type thing, isn't it?
They really
We
don't
wouldn't-
like bleed.
We haven't introduced, well, the only damage over time is poison, isn't it?
Yeah, and it don't work like fire so much. It does it like 25 seconds later rather than over and over. That is quite a new thing to add to ranging.
It's big.
It might be an interesting thing on maybe the raids coming end of next year or middle of next year, which might be. I'll try and put some words together so it makes a coherent sentence. Maybe one of the bosses is particularly susceptible to a damage over time from fire, and it might be useful for that. That way we can get the Sea Occult a bit of help through that, maybe.
There's an icy area.
There is an icy area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, there's possibly 2 because Gareth and I couldn't agree on some stuff.
Okay.
So that may be somewhere to use it for.
That's a cool idea. All right. Smack asks, will Old School ever see any new gods introduced, such as Guthix or Zeros, for example?
New ones.
New, well, bosses.
What we did with Zulrah was quite clever, wasn't it? Because we put her in as perceived as a god by a group of people, but not actually a god.
Might
So-
be, might not be.
So we yeah, might be, might not be, exactly. So I mean, it sort of allows us to play with the lore quite safely in that regard. So
Well, here's the thing. In this fantasy world, we've got beings trundling around with magical powers left, right and centre to greater or lesser extents. Like the Wise Old Man seems to be capable of doing just about anything that doesn't involve the Sea Troll Queen.
yeah,
It's the only thing he's had any trouble with. So if he turned up and met a tribe of people who didn't know as much magic as he does, they could well think he's a god, even though he isn't one. Or is he?
have some fun with that.
Yes.
Yes.
The wise old god.
Yeah.
Can we fight him
We're
as
not
a boss?
abbreviating that.
Can we stick him in God Wars?
I think he's got an alignment in it.
Yeah.
Next question. Cheap asks, will you be pulling any buffs to the abyssal weapons anytime soon?
I believe on the next poll.
In fact, we put roast in the news post this morning with the update.
There
So
you
we're
go.
going to pull some small buffs to the special attacks for both the weapons.
Okay. So an alternative to that was suggested by a player here. Instead of buffing the special weapons, could you instead give us the ability to add a Kraken to it, which would make it degrade?
Add a Kraken to it.
Yeah. Well, you think the Kraken and the Bludgeon.
I think a Kraken tentacle.
Okay, Kraken tentacle. You know what I mean. A Kraken tentacle and the Bludgeon. They look like they'd fit, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I can see that working.
Would degrade over time. A good use for the
An abyssal
Kraken
flail.
would buff it a bit, maybe give it poison or something. It's an idea.
Possibly, yeah.
And it would get some of them tentacles out of the game.
Yep. Not the worst idea we've gotten. All right. Acid asks, will the Max Cape come in different with wow, with
Patchy,
different
isn't it? Yeah.
options to recolor it?
Yeah, I spoke about this with Ash today. We didn't actually put it in the blog, or we didn't poll it like that. But if we were to offer it, it would come with, I think it was, if we merge it with a Fire Cape, it would turn orange, or if we merge it with an Arthur's Accumulator, it would turn green, or something like that. But we wouldn't be offering a fully customizable like toggle interface with different colours, unless I don't know, the future players really want that. I don't know.
So here's the thing. When we polled the Max Cape, and we started off with basic stats with an option for having more stats on it, which didn't pass the poll, quite a lot of the feedback at the time was people didn't want, Fire Cape stats on a thing that didn't mean you'd killed Jad. Because a Max Cape, we got the stats for it.
Something just happened.
Yeah, well, somebody was saying it's so quiet, and then follow the next line by "ouch, my ears." WTF? It's like, oh, someone turned the volume up then.
The chat just suddenly went. If we could just leave it to the quiet mode, that would probably be
Perfect.
fine.
There we go. Leave it alone, as of 30
Okay.
seconds ago. Right. Anyway, carry on, Ash. Sorry.
Something to do with capes. Yeah, if we gave you a Max Cape and it had the stats for Fire Cape and was the thing to wear around the wilderness, but it didn't actually mean that you'd, killed Jad, and also it was easier to get back to the Fire Cape because you could go buy one off the dude rather than having to go through the Fire Cape again. That was an effect that quite a lot of people didn't seem to appreciate very much. So quite a lot of feedback was, no, we want the stats on it, we want it to have really good stats, but we want it to be done by sticking the existing cape into the Max Cape, merging them, and then we have a Max Cape that's got better stats and signifies all the things that the original cape did. And I gotta say, I like that better than just saying, here's a switch to make the thing be orange, especially as it addresses the question of the stats, which a cosmetic override wouldn't.
Yep.
So I would like to pursue that first in the polls, and if it turns out there is no longer support for us doing that kind of combination to upgrade it, then we can move to this other idea of giving you different versions without upgrades.
Yep.
But I'd like to go there first and see if it passes, because there was a fair bit of support before. Might have gone away again, people's opinions do change.
This is very true. Next question. Real asks, would you consider changing the 75% requirement for a poll to pass to 70%?
Yes, in fact we polled it, didn't pass. Didn't even get 70.
Yeah.
If it had got 70, I'd have felt bad about it.
Yeah.
but
That was a good, difficult thing, isn't it? To actually pass by the new standards rather than the old ones.
This has come up quite a bit since sailing, particularly.
Sailing admittedly did not get 70, did it?
No, it was like
68.
67 or
Yeah.
something.
The way I always look at our poll percentage is, what's the big stuff or the game-changing stuff that hasn't passed? And there isn't a lot of it. There's sailing, there's artisan, and that's probably about it. Everything else which hasn't reached 75 is not majorly big.
Given that Zaya got well over 75, I recall, it doesn't feel like we're held back from doing great big game-changing things by the poll requirement. Although it would have been nice if sailing had passed.
Yep.
I think when we were in a position to do an abstain option, that might make quite a difference.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully
Still
that will
waiting on
soon.
some web stuff before we can go
Cool.
there.
It's in the going into the next sprint, I think.
Lovely.
So hopefully we'll see that soon.
This is me being
Similarly,
excited about
And if
that.
they were listening and it's not, sorry.
similarly, what about the ability to change our votes?
The system already supports that. I think we put that in the poll too, but nobody was very interested. But we could allow it. I think a lot of the people who didn't want it were concerned that you'd end up with a lot of, vote manipulation, people trying to game the system and switch their vote at the last minute and make the statistics all skewed. And while that's not technically a problem, it's not especially fun for anyone. So, frankly, the feedback was that people just didn't want it, and we're cool with that. But we could turn it on quite easily for a poll if we wanted to, or if you wanted us to.
Okay. Rainbow asks, can you remove random events from the Abyssal Sire? I read one instance in particular that kind of made me chuckle. The frog random, when you have all those minions at the end there.
Yes,
yeah.
we can do that. For what it's worth, it was in on Cerberus, and I figured now they don't actually teleport you unless you invite them to. What was cool for Cerberus was cool for the Sire, but I'm also happy to change it for perhaps both of them.
Okay. That would have to be pulled.
Nah, I think we just do that.
Okay.
We take that as feedback.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody not liking that.
No,
but-
I want frogged in my Abyssal Sire chamber. Darn you, Jagex.
There'll be somebody. There's always somebody.
Yes,
Yeah.
but whether we take them seriously or not is another matter entirely. Especially if they phrase it like that.
Indeed.
Okay. Next question. Paulo asks, any news on the potential rework of Zulra's drop table?
Not yet. We're still waiting on some more feeds to come out from the data warehouse. So basically, we've got everything into the data warehouse, all the information, but we still need to get the bit which tells us what's dropped what and who it's dropped it to, and then we can. I had a nice little drawing I did on the whiteboard upstairs. So basically, we have we can see where all the items come from. We can see the percentage of what's coming from Zulra, what's coming from in-game, and all the other data put together. And once we've got all that data in there, we can analyse the data, and the data will tell us what we should be doing with the data. And
He's milking this.
then we'll come to a date where we will have to change it.
By the way, I
Okay.
know I said in a previous stream that we already had that data. I'm sorry I was wrong about that.
Yeah. Well, the data is there. It's just a link that takes it to a place where we can do something with it.
All right. So for those of you that are spamming about Dragon Claws, we actually addressed that at the RuneFest Q&A, which is now live on our YouTube channel if you missed it. So, as well as that, we have the streamer Q&A. So feel free to check those out if you missed them.
If you watch our Q&A, try and see what it was I did with the mug.
They're slightly off screen
I
when
haven't
that
seen
happened. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
They're slightly off screen. It just kind of showed Ash like, oh, I'll leave it to you. Okay. Next question. Wavy asks, when will the construction update mentioned at RuneFest come into game?
For next year now, I'd imagine.
Expect so. We're a little bit queued with things like, well, Deadman mode, Halloween, quite a lot of quality of life stuff you guys asked for. Some stuff I want to do is the Abyssal Dagger. I don't see us getting it into 2015, sorry.
Okay. Kiefers asks, when will you repoll whether we can purchase RuneFest tickets with bonds?
I think we'll
RuneFest
poll it
next year?
next year as well.
Yeah.
When it's time, and see if the players change their mind on it by then. I think something that it's worth polling each year, whether it passes or fails in the previous year, so that it's only a one-off thing, so the players can decide that year whether they want it or not.
And as Ash said, opinions change.
Yeah, indeed.
They do seem to.
Yeah.
We'd never have got God Wars through in February 2013.
That's true.
Mikey asks, will bank placeholders or presets be pulled anytime soon?
Unlikely. There's a little bit of engine work required for the placeholder design I had, and just at the moment I don't think I can add anything to that queue that would get done in the immediate future. As for presets, when they came up on the stream, the chat was spamming, well, no, well, there was so much noise it was more like Pinocchio, so
How big is the job on the
So
placeholder?
much knows it was
Matt's
like,
like,
hey,
took
hey,
that one
hey,
right out of my
yeah.
pocketbook.
it'd be like making banknotes for items.
Mhm.
We'd want a placeholder version of items, and so
Yeah.
there's a banknote for most items. I think, and a few commands to let us switch items between them and search for them and replace them the way I'd like to. Krista and I reckon that would be a fairly good way of going about implementing it. And I don't think it would be too heavy on the engine team, but they would have to do it.
I personally think that would be one of the best quality of life updates.
Well, we pulled off bank tabs with negligible engine support. About the only engine support I asked for was something to move ranges of items and something to search for empty slots using the command that normally searches for full ones.
I know over the years, the amount of time every player spends trying to get a second item of everything, just so that it doesn't move around in the bank. So
Probably the
It's
only
definitely
items,
valuable.
Yeah, probably the only items we need to avoid, like the plague doing, for the ones that don't stack in the bank.
Yeah.
Like, well, half the stuff we release these days is degradable. But apart from that, I think this could be made to work. Could be a fun project too, but I don't get what you call a lot of spare time for experimenting with the code, because there's so much stuff you guys keep asking for.
All right. Bull Shark asks, with the Infernal Axis fire-making XP, will it count towards the fire-making pet?
Fire-making pet?
Unlikely.
There wasn't one of those on the blog, was there?
No, there isn't, but there was the talk of a Phoenix pet at some point as
Yeah.
well.
That would be a good one. But for the moment, I don't think we're getting one until it gets a separate poll.
But even if so, unlikely that would be the case, I
Okay.
imagine.
I don't think it'd add
getting
up.
a pet, it really should come from doing the thing with the logs to count.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Small asks, is it possible to control the speed of the camera's rotation? Assuming he's just relying on his arrow keys as opposed to the middle mouse wheel.
Currently, no. Bit of engine work, yes.
Okay.
And some content work to give you a control for it.
That would be quite handy. I'd actually really
I'd
like that.
at some point, we'd like to have the full camera, lot much better camera control for video makers, streamers, that sort of thing.
Yes.
That's down the line yet, so
Orb of Oculus,
Yeah.
one day. Okay.
better than the Orb of Oculus.
Some of its modes are not useful, some of its modes I would like.
Mm.
Like the one I wrote.
Okay. Limert asks, so this is an interesting idea. Could wearing Void give a damage buff in pest control? And then you have to wonder, would the same happen with Barbarian Assault gear, Barbarian Assault, Castle Wars armor, and Castle Wars?
I think there's certainly a value to having items usable in specific pieces of content or better in specific pieces of content. We were talking about it for the raids, weren't we? How some of the rewards from raids will help you get
Yeah.
through the raids even better. So it makes sense to have them in mini games. When we start looking at the mini games in particular, which again will be next year, we can sort of think about that and see whether that's worth doing as well.
Okay.
So it'll be worthwhile. Do you want to answer Stealing Creations? So they're spamming it.
It's just like one group of people.
Is
It's
it?
just like, what are we going to yell about? This! Okay!
I
Even
think
though
we
we
should
just
yell
answered
about
that.
why Ronan isn't on the sofa. I think that's the next thing to yell about.
Where is he?
Upstairs
That's
making
a
memes.
good question, isn't it?
There you go.
That's a bucket, not a bowl.
That's a bucket, not a bowl. Wow.
I think we distracted them from Stealing Creations long enough there.
Anybody who just tuned into the stream is wondering what is going on.
Why do people tune into this stream?
Nothing
Yes.
out of the ordinary there.
All right. Moving on.
Yes.
Mikey asks, can the Carrera's pet sound effects only play when it's in motion instead of when it's flapping its wings idly? Similar to like the Bandos pet, for example. You don't hear the stomps unless it's actually walking.
Yeah, I can do that.
Would that have you pulled?
No.
Nice. We should definitely mute the Carrera pet.
Yeah.
Or put more squawk noises on it.
We're going to increase the volume of them. I think they're not loud enough, to be honest.
We can make them extend further as well.
Yeah. I think the ACB spec, it should just yell that constantly on a loop.
I don't know, the sound effect for the Ruby Bolts, that is the best.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's like a complete scream.
Hang on, can you
It's
mimic
amazing.
it so we can be familiar?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Bio asks, so the, oh boy, Niet is not? Niet
Net is not, yeah.
Net's not.
But that's why it's so called.
The Net's Not helm is an improved Berserker helm with prayer and other useful bonuses. Can we see similar upgrades to the rest of the Fremenic helms?
The Fremenic armor is pretty cool, to be fair. I like the not a lot of the stuff you ever use. You know, the normal conical hat and the big round shield. I always think that looks quite cool.
I think if we could have like a Net's Not version of like the Farseer and Archer helm, that'd be pretty cool.
And if we made them available from the burger on the island after you've done the quest or something.
Yeah. Bit odd to throw that in this late after the quest, but
That's life.
this would be a good one for a straw poll, I think, actually.
Hmm.
Would you like to see Net is not,
Yeah, buff
Yes.
fast.
Net is not, Net is not, whatever, equivalents of that to the rest of the Fremenic helms? That'll be in the chat
loving
soon.
the chat's pulling the joke and with the two islands. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Munch asks, can updates on a toggle for the older interface... That makes no sense. Any updates on a toggle for the older interfaces? That makes more sense.
Ah, yes, that. Some players have kindly sent me the graphical assets I'd want for doing it, and so I save you time.
Right.
Because not all the pictures are available on the internet, it's great. And I would love to stick it together and make a game frame out of it. Not an entirely small job, and I'm afraid we had something else on Pole 36 that was a chunky job, so that one ended up taking priority, and this one's had to wait a bit longer. But I'd like to get it done.
Okay. Love to see that happen. Next question. Extreme. Could we get something like a Grim Reaper pet, which is an extremely rare reward from killing bounty hunter targets? So we've been talking about skilling pets. Obviously there's PVM pets. There's no PvP pets. Come on.
Yeah, the problem with PvP pets is it can only work in Bounty Hunter really, otherwise you could just farm it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Off your mates.
Well, if the community wants it, sure.
We just have a loop of that. We'll play it after every
We were
question.
talking about something for Deadman earlier, weren't we? Deadman mode, where if you die you get a blood coin.
Are we going to spoil
Blood
that?
money.
That was a really cool idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blood money, and then that can be spent on things within Deadman mode. So maybe one of those things, if they collect enough of them, could be some sort of Deadman pet type thing.
Okay.
That'd be quite a good thing to tie into that.
And if it's literally blood money, then we could just paint the coin model red.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool, actually. Yeah. I'm going to double check on that question. We're trying to get straw polled. Is it still possible to straw poll? Would you like to see the net is not equivalent of the rest of the Fremnik helms? Should hopefully have that in there pretty momentarily.
Yes, indeed.
Next question then. Armageddon asks, what exactly was the Titan Brawl update you mentioned at RuneFest?
Oh, that was one from Dan, wasn't it? Which two Titans fight each other, and that was about as far as it ever got, I think, which is why it wasn't particularly exciting.
You fight other people, but not as yourself. You fight as a Titan, probably a steel one, and you'd spawn lots of big Titans and they brawl.
Yes.
I understand there is a game already out there that is not
Titanfall.
dissimilar. Yes, with a very similar name.
I wasn't supposed to say that.
Well, that's where the name Titan Brawl came from.
I'm just going to email our legal team now to make them be aware that there's a...
So, yeah, there wasn't very much interest in that after it was mentioned, so we left it alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it.
Fair enough.
I love how appropriate Dan's game is now
Yes.
as an emote.
Well, the straw poll's in the chat. Would you like net is not equivalent of the rest of the Fremnik helms, and that's
Cool.
passing by 81%,
Yeah, that's quite wonderful,
82%?
Provided you have to actually take the helm in to get it upgraded.
Yes, that makes sense, doesn't it?
That's
I mean,
very
you go
good.
with
Well,
the
maybe we
berserker
could add
ones.
them as drops to the ice trolls over there.
Yeah, I'll send people there again.
Yeah, that's quite nice actually, because there isn't really anything other than that. Aside from the Robin, obviously doesn't have the defense bonus of the Prayer. Mage, I can't think of anything that'd be replacing. So, no?
No.
I think it's a cool idea.
Sermontown would be the sacrifice, I guess,
Yes.
depending on hybrids. Cool, good idea. Next question then. Started asks, can you buff the Abyssal Sire's drop table or make it easier?
I think we even said in the news post today that we were going to see how people got on killing it for another week before we tried to rebalance its drop table. See, when we release a boss, especially a complicated one, we know how long we think it takes to kill, but people might well find ways of doing it cheaper and quicker. And people are finding cheaper ways of killing the Sire, which will become better known, I imagine. So we'd like to gather a bit more data before we try to rebalance the drop table around it. Because it would be really bad if we went and gave it amazing drops on launch and then people found they could knock the thing down in 45 seconds or something. So we would like to be a little more sure that's not the case before we change it.
Yeah, I certainly like doing it this way better than giving it a drop table that's too good and having to bring it down.
Yeah.
So
And having people say they want it nerfed and other people say they don't want it nerfed.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know the situation, don't you guys?
We've seen some people go in with the wrong strategy and just simply complain and saying it's too good, and then you watch somebody else who actually knows what they're doing and they can kill it relatively.
ultimately, there's still a lot of people trying it out for the first time. They're struggling. They might be using quite a few more supplies than we expect them to. So
Yeah, did you
Yeah.
see that spec? The 69, the Crystal Halberd.
I think it was
on Reddit.
68.
What number was that?
It was 68.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry, not 69. Yeah.
You can tell what's on Alfie's mind.
Sure it wasn't
Next
73.
question.
Rotational symmetry
Could have
numbers,
been
yes.
73. Yeah.
Vetches asks, since the logout timer is patched, can we have the Goblin bow back?
Why?
Level 3 skillers. That's
Goblin
the only
bow
people that could
was
want
It makes
used
things
for-
retaliate against you without doing it, and guarantees no damage, which is good if you want to get the monster to be aggressive without
gaining combat experience.
risk of hitting it.
I think it was used as well for ragging, wasn't it? The bow.
Yeah, it
The other
was.
problem with it. So probably not.
This is the first thing we've heard of it since, so.
Well, supposing there was a monster that people wanted to train on, and you went and used this bow to just keep it occupied indefinitely, even if you weren't getting XP and you had to make sure you weren't AFK, you could occupy the monster indefinitely with that bow. Not really ideal.
Could you do it with a rubber chicken? They don't attack anymore, do they? Used to years ago, didn't they?
You have to,
Used to actually do damage.
they've got negative stats, but the
Yeah.
bow is the one thing that would guarantee 0 damage.
Okay.
Alright, next question. David asks, will Old School have a bigger representation at the next RuneFest?
Quite possibly. I think what we learned from this year is to stream the second stage, certainly, because that's where we had a couple of things on there. The thing about RuneFest as well is we've got a team of, well, by next RuneFest, probably about 12 people. And if we are always on stage, then we're not talking to the people there. And the key for me, and I think for most people here, is we want to talk to our players who've made the effort to come to RuneFest and paid the money. And that's what's quite important. So, you know, if we stick everybody on stage all the time, then we're not on the shop floor per se. So.
Also, physically, it's quite hard to fit us all on the stage these days.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there are positives and negatives to a bigger showing. I think we certainly need to do the second stage stuff again. In fact, next year I'd like to have a camera in each room and have everything on the one stream. You click on which room you want it to go in. And this is
There's
the
no
first time
hiding then,
anyone's
eh?
ever heard of this as well. So I could just see the live streaming guy sitting over there looking at me with sheer panic now, going, how on earth is this going to work?
We have to be blinking careful what we say in any corner of that building.
Yeah.
Mind you, the number of conversations people wanted to have with me in the toilets, it was really annoying.
Could I just, on the topic of RuneFest, could I just congratulate everyone who booed Ronan on the main stage? It was incredibly well organised. It was fantastic.
It was, yeah. Well, I had to pay a lot of money to get people to do that.
Alright.
But yeah, no, it was. I mean, RuneFest was an awful lot of fun, but the key for me is to talk to the people, talk to the players. So we can stand on stage and say stuff, but you know, at the end of the day, I'd like talking to people one-to-one and remember that our players are human and not just people who spam up stuff in the middle of the
Capital
chat.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Because you
capital
wouldn't
one,
want
two,
to
three.
think you're just that, wouldn't
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I was half expecting people to just come up and just be like, yeah, Capital 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, no, you can use English now.
We just sort of joke about giving everybody in the chat a little board they could write comments on, just so it actually felt like you were talking to a Twitch channel.
No
I
one's
was
ever
calling
come up
them-
to me and gone duh, 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 yet, but I'm sure it'll happen.
Yes.
I was,
It will now you said that, certainly.
Awesome. I can often be found wandering around Cambridge.
when I was hosting the Q&As, I kept referring to the audience as chat. And they're like, we're not chat, we're real people, we're an audience. I'm like, sorry.
It's funny because
Alright.
we thought we were being streamed, didn't we?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Next question then. Odd asks, can we have the ability to reorder the options on a right click?
I'm sure the engine team could make it possible, but it would take a lot of control panels to control all those different things you might want to control the right click of.
There are a lot of right click options in the game.
Yeah, there's probably too many to let you customize every single one of them individually. And also we keep changing them, which will make the options a bit invalid.
Okay. Chat seems to be
Sort
split
of talking
with that
about
question.
stuff.
Next question then. Blaze asks, can we make sure every Q&A is posted to YouTube? Yep, so what happened the last couple of weeks is we had some technical difficulties the first week there, and the last week there were some audio issues similar to this week. We did not get past them last week, so they consumed the first, I think, like 5-10 minutes or something. Then by the time I threw it on YouTube, everybody was just like disliking. There was a whole bunch of hate because they were like, we can barely hear anything. It's like, okay, forget about it. We'll make up for it next week. So yeah, from now on, everything will definitely make it to YouTube. And I think even if there are technical difficulties, we'll at least record them. So they might not be able to make their way live, but they'll at least be up on YouTube. So yeah. Jaybird asks, can we have the ability to bank unsireds from the Abyssal Sire? I think it'd be cool to save them up and do multiple at a time.
For what it's worth, they wouldn't stack in the bank because they use that data to remember what kind of thing they're going to become when you put them in the font. So if we did that, you'd fill your bank pretty rapidly because they just wouldn't stack.
Well, assuming you're getting a lot of them.
Well, I think for what's being planned here,
Yeah.
they'd like to get a lot of them. And we try to discourage people from hoarding things that are just going to fill their bank like that.
Okay.
The other thing is, it would, when they do eventually use them, a whole load of those items would come into the game all at once, which may not have the best effect.
It's true, we would prefer not to have the items come into the game in great big batches like that.
All right. Milk asks, can you make it so Iron Man can toggle permanent Iron Man mode after Tutorial Island? This was asked a lot this week.
Yeah, because I mean, the reason we did it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was people, if they got their
Hijacked.
accounts hijacked, they would always still remain an Iron Man, which is why we gave them the option of you could be permanent, you could be not permanent, or you could not be an Iron Man. And the problem with permanent Iron Man is sort of endemic in its name that permanent is pretty permanent.
Yes. If we gave you something in game that let you say, oh, okay, I know I never, ever, ever wanted to downgrade, but I've changed my mind.
Yes.
Well, then all those people who were afraid of getting hijacked and have their achievement of being an Iron Man turned off by the hijacker, they would no longer have the protection. So the answer is yes, we could, but that really is not what those people were asking for when they asked for that option to exist in the first place.
It'd be interesting to see how many Iron Men have been hijacked over the years, or how many permanent Iron Men are hijacked over the years, see what the risks are there. But maybe that's something to look at, to get some data on that
Yes.
and analyse that data.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, if you are worried about being hijacked, then firstly, the authenticator, use it. That's what it's for. Secondly, if you've got an email account attached to the authenticator, make sure that's properly secure as well.
Two-step.
Because if somebody gets into your email account, then they can start sending instructions and pretending to be you. And, well, we can't tell the emails ain't coming from you for real.
Yeah.
So a good email provider will have two-step verification as an option, so that when you try to log into your email, it's got an authenticator effectively as well. Means that people can't, keylog your password or guess your password or brute force your password or whatever. So try and set up two-step verification on your email account and use the authenticator, and keep away from dodgy links on the internet. Links where people are giving out stuff on a live stream aren't always genuine, sadly, especially if it claims it's us. So that's how you can try and keep your account a bit more secure.
Wise words. All right. After, do you plan on adding, sorry, his name was After. Do you plan on adding more details to the Monster Examine spell?
Yes. Via a poll.
That's quick. Okay.
Popular request, that one.
Gimo, what are your thoughts on adding the old school HD project that's been floating around Reddit?
Adding it, or right.
Okay, what are your
were
thoughts
my
on it in
thoughts
general?
Okay. So yeah, I saw this on Reddit actually a couple of days ago, and at first I thought it was just like some models thrown into an engine. It all looks pretty. And then the guy started posting some GIFs and started explaining what
GIFs.
GIFs.
I know there was an
GIFs.
article a year ago that the guy who made them
Oh, man.
actually said it's pronounced GIF, but they've been called GIFs for years, and GIF
right.
sounds awful.
What
so-
does it stand for? Because it's acronym, isn't it?
We've completely lost this question.
Okay.
I don't know.
Graphical
Anyone?
interface, graphical something or other, I guess.
Interchange format, I don't know. Image
I'll-
format.
Format.
I'll have a look. Carry on.
Graphical
Gotta-
image.
it's gotta be something format.
So yeah, I
Check
saw,
data.
the stream can't hold on while you do this. It's
And someone's going to know in the
Plenty
chat,
jiffy.
surely.
Graphics
Graphics
interchange
interchange
format.
format,
Okay, so it is GIF, isn't it? It's graphics, not Jaffix.
Yes.
Graphics.
Griff.
Graphics part.
Yeah.
so the guy who invented them was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Next question.
somehow.
Right. So should we start again?
Right. So there's an old school HD floating around Reddit. Somebody's created something cool to look at. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I first saw it, I thought it was just some assets thrown into an ordinary engine, so it looked all nice and pretty and everything. Then I kind of did some research on it, and I found out the guy actually had some sort of client working with it. So when he was moving around in Oldscape, he was also moving around in the other engine. So it was kind of similar to RS Body, how they use a different client. and they're able to play on that. So I don't know. I really like the idea of the project. It looks really, really good, and you know, I don't know. I want to see the outcome of it. To be honest, I don't know
It's
what
really
anyone
fascinating to
else.
see how far he can get with it, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be
We've never
awesome.
seen
I've
anything
a lot
like
of
this
people
before.
trying that
No,
before.
it's
So,
a clever idea.
yeah.
Normally what you get is you get extra help to play a game in a client, not an extra way of seeing a game in a client. So
Yeah.
it's quite a fascinating concept. Interesting to see how he gets on.
Okay.
The GIFs are really good.
Next question then. Can we finally pull barehanded impling catching? Finally.
Yes, we could, but the player who asked for it earlier today asked me to then guarantee it would be on the next poll, and that's not something I can just guarantee myself.
Yeah.
I believe John has some ideas for about the bare-handed stuff. So I imagine we'll see it in the future, though, at some point.
Some point. TM?
Yeah.
Tux asks, what are your thoughts on moving God armors to free-to-play? What are your thoughts on adding any armors to free-to-play? Because this has been coming up.
I really personally like adding the, like, you know, the variants of Rune.
Yeah.
All those. Is that what you're on about with
Yeah,
God
yeah.
armors? Yeah, that's what I really like, because it gives you... It's not advancing free-to-play gear in any way. It's just giving them a cosmetic difference and...
Are they not free to
Something
play
else
already?
Well, they've
can,
already
uh,
got, yeah, Zamorak, Sarah, and
Yeah, I was
Gothics,
gonna
but
say
they don't
some
have,
are
like,
free to play,
bandos,
I thought they
etc.
Yeah, we didn't do the expanded Pantheon.
There's no reason why not then, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting to actually see who's actually plays free to play, because the vast majority of people just sail straight through free to play into members.
Yeah, but a lot of members would want to be able to
that's
sell
true.
it to free-to-play people.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And profit.
It
would,
gives it extra
yeah.
value and...
Your clue
So-
scrolls would make you more money. I can see
Yeah, that's
why
why
they're
they want
saying
more
yes.
stuff on
Yeah.
free-to-play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone buy them out now. Yeah.
All right. Next question. Can we have the ability to combine pizzas faster? Some of us have hundreds of half pizzas laying around. It's a
Do
very
they
valid
really?
question.
Do they really? Okay.
Yeah.
I
To
like
free-to-play
the idea.
people,
What
to
I
be
saw
honest,
was
yeah.
I saw somebody go and talk about pizzas. Somebody who wanted a special animation for topping pizzas,
Yeah.
which I thought was quite a
Saw
cool
that.
idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that.
That's better than combining pizzas.
Can we give them the ability? They definitely can't note, or sorry, they definitely can't combine noted pizzas.
That would be very strange.
Yes.
Yes, we have to give them a special pizza box that they put these. It's maybe a pizza stacker or something where you put your halves in. It sort of stacks them together.
Okay.
This will come out in a box. Maybe you can combine pizzas to give them sort of weird healing points.
I was-
So you
I
can
was
have an
just-
anchovy pizza and a
It just poisons you.
Oh, you can get half
Anchovy and
half,
pineapple together on a pizza.
yeah.
Sounds grim.
Yeah. Mm.
But where did pineapple on a pizza come from? Like,
Ooh,
who
I
came
don't
up
know,
with the
but I
grand
like
idea?
it. I like it.
Let's have a fruit. And it'll look great.
I love it.
Whoever it is, we should have someone
Right.
called I don't know, Papa Luigi or Domino's or something. And
I was
to
thinking
do
Pizza
it.
Man. We could just hire him.
Oh God, yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
Pizza Man.
Seems like
Yeah,
an
that guy.
ideal job for him, doesn't it?
It's like, I
Stick
actually
him next to the
think,
decant guy at the Grand Exchange.
Yeah.
The potion decanter.
like, I actually think the pineapple is good on a pizza, but you wouldn't imagine like orange slices.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely mental.
All right, we still have questions.
Moving on.
Moving on. Castle Wars for the win asks, can you make the boxes by Castle Wars Bank in Blast Furnace unclickable?
Yes, he asked that a couple of weeks ago, didn't he?
What was the answer?
I think it was yes, we can do.
Cool, let's do that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're there for anything.
No.
We just make sure
So
there is
what-
a
you know what that
threshold
was
pointed
asked,
out that we
yeah.
don't know about.
Yeah.
They're not any clue things, are they?
That's what I just said.
That's it. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Next question then. Want asks, an interesting idea. Thoughts on the ability to create a rooftop agility course on top of your own player-owned house?
Oh.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Now hear me out. All right. Like a game like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you can create your own thing, right? And then you can watch people go and try. Imagine you can make your own agility rooftop course. Now your roof would have to be pretty big. Yeah, it'd have to be pretty big. You can invite your friends in. They could train on your own rooftop agility course. Maybe not get XP. I don't know. Have to be careful with that one. Yeah,
So
but
you've got your third level, haven't you? Mind you, if I remember rightly, we had to drop the roof down to the second level so you could walk on the third level. Is that right?
There had to be an extra invisible level above the roof so that you didn't stand with your knees deep in the roof.
Yeah.
So for that to work, we would need to have there to be an extra level up there.
Yeah.
And as it is, houses can be too tall for that. Now, if we then said you can only build this stuff one level down, or you can only do it on, say, the Ardoin style house, which has flat roofs, that becomes more possible.
Mm.
okay.
Yeah,
I
Would
do
it-
really like the idea.
yeah, that
I
sounds
think it's
quite
really
fascinating.
cool that you could build obstacles up there in hotspots for people to use.
Monsters up there as well, so you can attack you as you go around.
No, this is. Oh,
You
okay.
can build your own big red Japan to stand up there and wave at you every time you go by.
So would this give XP then? Because theoretically, then you could just sit in your house, get 99 agility without interacting with anybody.
Yes, and that's why there were very few training things in houses when the skill came out in 2006. Because apart from training construction, which had to be done in there, pretty much, the idea was to avoid people all just vanishing from the surface world and hiding in houses for the rest of eternity with their own farming patch and their own mining rocks. Now, moving on, old school players don't sometimes feel so badly about that kind of thing, and could be we'd be willing to let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the other hand, it's never really crossed my mind that we need more training courses for agility in this game.
No, I don't,
No.
Think I don't think we need them, but I think it's quite
Yeah.
a cool idea, which is quite a fun thing for people to build their own course, isn't it? Which
They
is
have been
quite-
requesting the Brimhaven agility buff as well, which went really well actually when we straw pulled
Yeah,
that.
I really like that.
Yeah. So
So maybe having everyone just do it in the house instead isn't so good.
I mean, we could have 2 agility updates. I don't know. Then people complain agility escape probably.
We've got a fairly big construction update coming up, so I think we're covered for a while on that. Maybe
It's a good
potential
idea
for
to-
revisit in the future.
Yeah, but definitely hang on to it. All right. Toucan asks, can you add more engaging ways of training prayer? Like how when you kill ghasts in the swamp, they give prayer XP?
Yeah, 30.
Yeah.
That's a way of training prayer.
Well, it trains prayer, and it's a thing.
I think there'll be some things for the new continent which will help prayer.
For that matter, if we had a lot more ghasts available rather than you having to run around and chase them all over the place,
Yeah.
like if they were just more densely packed, then that might make them more useful to kill. Because at the moment you just can't kill them at a decent rate because you've got to be playing with your druid pouch. That sounds odd. And then you only usually get about one ghast at a time.
Indeed, yeah.
All right. Daly asks, when will Monkey Madness 2 be pulled?
Ooh, probably. I'm thinking February-ish,
That sounds good.
I think. Sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So follow up to that, we mentioned tortured demons on stage. We said tortured demons on stage. Does this mean that Dragon Claws will be pulled as a potential reward?
Because that's the only thing could possibly come out of a demon with a thing that begins with T and sounds like pain.
I doubt it somehow. I know we haven't sat down and decided on sort of the final things here and there. There's still plenty of discussion, but I can't see that Dragon Claws
Figure-
fit still. We've been very careful to avoid the power creep, which is the current favourite phrase, and Dragon Claws.
Kind of
Upset,
bypass the
yeah.
creep by going to the end of the creep.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody
Yeah.
did suggest on Twitter that we make the Abyssal Dagger spec hit 4 times and buff the damage output and accuracy.
That sounds like Dragon Claws. Also, you have to swing that really quickly, because the claws you have two-handed at
It
least,
was
right?
the most clever way of trying to get declaws in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't think we'll see Dragon Claws, not for a long, long time. Well,
Unless
not as they
Santa
were,
has a
so-
pet dragon and we call it Dragon Claws.
Okay. You guys are on point today with the jokes.
Should we not give up the day job?
Next question. Tom asks, thoughts on the beds in your player-owned houses having the ability to restore run energy like rest?
John's thing that he pitched at RuneFest had something with the ability to restore run energy, and I'd like to leave it as a thing that you build in addition to your house
Okay.
rather than just sticking it on the beds everyone's already got.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that makes
Makes
perfect
perfect
sense.
sense.
Ryan asks, would it be possible to make the Gren Exchange's history page longer?
As in,
Scroll down further. I think it shows currently like 10, 12? maybe?
10,
10.
which is I think double what the previous
Yeah.
versions of the GE had.
I guess so. We'll have to have a chat with Neil. I'll have to send him an email
Right now.
right now. See if we get a response back by the next 2 minutes.
Okay. While we wait,
I
next
won't
question.
get an email out that quickly.
Polsk asks, can the Max Cape look slightly different on Iron Man and Ultimate Iron Man?
Okay.
Harsh.
Why? No?
Because
don't
it's
think
a
it
more
should.
significant accomplishment.
Yeah, that
I
is
think.
true.
Yeah,
We don't want
But
to add
it's there.
content just for
especially
Iron Man.
Ultimate. Like,
Yeah.
I think.
If they wear it with their Iron Man
Maybe like
armour,
4
they'll look
people,
pretty
5
Iron Man-ish.
people.
that's true. Okay.
Or Iron Womanish.
That should keep them happy. Okay, last actual question here, and then we'll head to some from the chat. Lemon asks, will we eventually see more skilling pets aside from the few that have been described so far? So I think we've described like
Well,
5, 6 or something.
That Phoenix keeps turning up,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we only, I think, polled 4 of them so
Okay.
far.
Yeah, there'll be
People
4
obviously
coming
small.
with this batch, and I'm sure there'll probably be a chance in the future to add more. Like the fire making one will come at some point, I'm sure.
For what it's worth, we were avoiding doing it for the moment for skills where you gather huge amounts of resources in advance and then blast through them over time, which is why a fletching pet is maybe not on the first list. Where the ones you gather from raw resources at whatever speed you can based on your skill, those are the ones we started with. We didn't really want to have a situation where you have enough logs in your bank that you can almost certainly get a fletching pet out of it.
True. Okay, that makes sense. We'll head to the questions from the chat then.
Yeah, so there's people asking about Dead Man Mode and the launch date for it. We will tell you that on Monday, which means we'll tell you the launch date on Monday. We won't be coming out Monday.
Okay. Competition says Mod Matt K sock pet or riot.
Okay, I've got my pretty socks on again.
With eyes,
With eyes, yeah, it's got a little face on it. Hang on.
do they have noses?
I don't know. Someone's bringing the cameraman's coming. The cameraman who's our I don't know,
They've
what's his
already
job
been-
title, head of technical something or
They've
other.
definitely already been on stream.
Is now a cameraman.
Yeah, we've already had a sock cam.
So there you go. So he's got a little face on it.
Do you wear those because you know it's Thursday?
Yeah, that's the only reason. Quite frankly, I have them in a little separate drawer in my room, which is streaming
Thursday
clothing.
socks. Yeah.
In a special gold container.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
All right. Next
So the most
question.
important thing to them at the moment is my socks. That's the one with people.
Now that sailing failed, are there any ideas of new skills? Sorry, is the idea of any new skill being dumped?
Well, quite a lot of people who've said that they didn't want sailing, many of them didn't want a skill. Others felt differently about other aspects of sailing. That's why Matt is gathering data about why people voted no. And I imagine you'll eventually have a chance to analyse it now RuneFest's out of the way.
Yeah, so I've had a look at the data, and the data tells me that the data they've given us is that the day to do this isn't quite right now.
The day to do this.
Do you like that?
Wow, that was so good.
Yeah, so it's basically said that there is a large group of people that want us to fix other stuff first. So we'll fix other stuff first, see where we are then.
Dada boy, dada boy.
Yeah, that's the one. So that's the next step.
Had to stretch to the Americanism for that one.
I don't understand.
Data and day to do this.
Day to do this, yeah.
Yeah,
That was good, wasn't
that was really good. Okay.
it? Mod dad jokes.
Possibly
Oh,
update
yeah.
the drop table of spiritual rangers and warriors to make them worth doing before 83 Slayer for mages.
I suppose he's saying he doesn't have 83 Slayer. He'd like to be able to train on these other things that he's getting as assignments, and he'd like better drops when he's doing it, so he can get good drops before getting to 83 Slayer,
I'm gonna say that's what he asked. Yeah,
I think.
I read it word for word. I have no idea.
Basically.
Let's say yes.
No.
There we go.
I think the drop tables of warriors are not bad. They've got rune longswords and stuff on there.
Ultimately, if a better drop table's on the thing with the higher requirement, that's normal
Yeah.
and desirable.
You look like you're intensely reading the chat.
I am.
Someone said something mean. You're like,
Have you seen anything you want to draw to our attention?
Yeah, Barrow's boots, apparently.
Barrow's boots.
Something
Somebody
asked
asked
for
about
quite often,
Barrow's
haven't they,
boots.
Barrow's boots? Every now and then you hear
I've
about
got the gloves. Okay, I
Best-
could see that. Yeah.
No, couldn't be better.
We've sort of taken the spot up now, I think.
Yeah.
We've got the
new
Bandos
boots and
boots.
Cerberus.
We've got primordial boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Okay. I think we'll head for like one or two more from the chat.
Yeah, we're a few minutes late.
Um,
What we got here is there's a lot of stuff about Dead Man Mode. Come join the Q&A next week, and we will talk more about it next week.
Yeah.
We could do a Dead Man special next week.
Okay.
Should be quite good.
Um,
New skills, invention. I don't think we'll do invention. This is from Hard Hustling. He says, do you plan to incorporate new skills, including invention, into old school? New skill is based, I would imagine that unless we do sailing, we probably won't do a new skill. I can't imagine. Certainly not in the midterm. Invention, probably, I can't see that ever happening, really.
Also, there's a lot of overlap between invention and, well, artisan, which did not pass.
Yeah, exactly. So, there we go.
Can we get a gilded chef hat from cooking the same way we get new skilling pets? Says Mini Morrow one. Yep, good.
Gilded chef hat.
Again, I
Sounds
think it's one of those skills where if you gather all the resources in advance and then start blasting through them to try and get your pet as quickly as possible,
Yeah.
that's something we were trying to avoid.
That's
But if we were doing a cooking pet, then giving you a gilded chef hat as your pet would be about as odd as anything else.
Yeah, I think a gilded chef hat. I think it would be better coming from a Cluestrol than anything a gilded
Oh, I
chef
like
hat.
that.
Yeah, that would probably work better.
It also just makes no sense. Like, you're cooking sharks and then like, oh, you found a gilded chef hat in the oven.
You see, I would like the way
Heard of
I would
stranger
like to
things.
have is you do so much cooking that the oven comes alive, sprouts legs and starts following over.
I've had enough of this.
To capture it
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
Overlord Scotsman says, can you move RuneFest 2016 to summer?
I think a few people said that. But
I can see the
would-
reason. 'Cause So
Yes,
many people are
everyone's off
off school and
Yeah.
have more time to build. I mean, certainly from when they're coming from America, coming just for like a weekend is hard.
It's worth noting that we do sell out the tickets year on year,
Yeah.
and more people being able to come doesn't necessarily mean they'll be able to get tickets unless we can
Summer
really do it
is
more.
also sporting events, particularly in London, cricket and football, so hotels will be particularly difficult at that time.
Yes, we merely coincided with an Arsenal match, but it was not so big as some of the other things that happened.
Well, we had Rugby World Cup as well, didn't we? We had England Australia on RuneFest, which was
Some
disappointing
competition.
for English people, obviously. Yeah.
That was the door opening.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, probably summer. Probably it creates a lot of problems actually. Logistically in London.
It's
Summer
more
does, I think.
expensive as well.
And it'll be more expensive as well because it's the middle of the holiday time. So that will be issues. I think we should do it in America though.
I'd like
hands
that.
up, hands up. Who wants to go to America next year? Yeah. Hands up. Whose decision it is that we go to America to do it next year? No, never mind.
Okay. That's a little
Way to
mean.
shoot us down that.
It is rather, isn't it?
It was a few years ago that New York came top of like a poll, didn't it?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right,
it
yeah.
did.
I think after that we ought to go and do it to Australia and go to Australia the year after that.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to go to Egypt.
We'll give them a RuneFest, but not service here.
RuneFest tour. Travel the world.
Okay,
I'd
guys.
like to see Singapore again.
Yes, yeah. Anywhere else you want to go
Wow.
on holiday that we can do RuneFest?
That's basically it, right?
Sweden I've always wanted to go to. Norway's apparently really nice as well.
What about the
people
North
nodding
Pole? I
over
fancy
there,
going to
yeah.
the North Pole.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I saw a holiday once which looked absolutely amazing, okay, in the North Pole. And what you did is you went up to the North Pole, you found a big fissure in the ice, you went climbed down this fissure and went scuba diving underneath the Arctic
For a
ice.
RuneFest.
This is
That'd be great. Fantastic.
okay. Just a little bit off topic, just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
RuneFest in mind, if you did miss the highlights, they're all up on our old school YouTube channel. You can watch our reveals, talking about very exciting things coming in the coming year, as well as the 2 Q&As with the streamers and the old school team. That being said, we're going to conclude this stream. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later.